This is the Orion Talk Radio Network, and this is the event Solvino Radio. Today, I will be continuing from next week, but first I will answer a question from a listener, and I will go into the question first a little bit. The question from the listener, we were talking a little bit in the chat about the origins of the words Satan and Lucifer, and I thought that it had to do with bringing across an idea. And I think they invented these mythological figures for that reason. The idea that they wanted to use to control the people is the idea of karma, and that's coming from the Eastern side. The idea of heaven and hell, you will be rewarded for your deeds, or you will be punished for your actions. That's more or less the idea that people have when we talk about karma. But karma is something completely different. Karma simply means action. It doesn't mention anything about reaction. Karma is a Sanskrit term, and it's used in the Vedas a lot. And of course the Vedas are mythological stories. But there's also a lot of information in there which is still used today, like, for instance, Ayurvedic medicine. They have Ayurvedic hospitals. All again. Yeah, I got reconnected, I guess. That's fine. Skype seems to be acting up every time. So, the idea of reaction was never mentioned in the ancient Sanskrit writings when it comes to the word karma. It simply means action. It also goes on to explain there are different kinds of action, different kinds of karma. There's normal karma, which they call action. There's also karma yoga, which explains what kind of action will get what kind of result. But this is not the same idea as being rewarded or punished. This is simply an explanation of how nature works. So certain actions will get certain results. Okay, that's not hard to understand. And then there's akarma. Akarma would be translated, I guess, into Western terminology as sin. But that's also an idea that has been implanted into society to keep control of the people. Then they have vikarma. That's the one I meant, by the way, which is sin. Akarma is non-action. So vikarma could be explained as sin. Then there's akarma, which means non-action. Non-action is very difficult. It ties more or less a bit to the question I asked last week to take with you, all of you. And that question was, are you your body? And this has to do with identification. And akarma, or non-action, is also to do with action or non-action, has to do with identification also. And we have a caller on the air, Dave from Massachusetts, or Dave from Montana, I believe. Are you calling?
No, it's not Dave, it's Jeff.
It's Jeff. Oh, hi, Jeff.
Hi, how you doing, Sobenor? How's it going? Now, as far as karma is concerned, quite honestly, a lot of stuff that happens to people. I mean, I really believe that there's an elite and a chain of command that actually controls people's lives. Like when you have overregulation and so forth, that people are not able to make money to survive because they're giving money to government. That has an adverse reaction on the people.
Yes.
And the way of life. I mean, if you have two parents working, the child gets neglected because two parents are working because they got to stay above water. That child winds up becoming a ward of the state practically, and the teacher has more influence on the child than the parents do because the two parents are working. And child abuse goes up because they're stressed because the parents are not able to stay afloat, and resulting in the parents not becoming politically informed to vote in the right people because they don't have time because they have to work so much to pay the taxes, and the only people who by default who have time to do the activism and all this other stuff are people who are politically connected in government jobs, and hence the continuing growth of government and so forth. And
but how does that, Jeff? How does that tie to karma?
Well, what I'm saying is, I don't believe so much in karma. I believe that every action has equal and opposite reactions.
Well, if you go to physics school, then that's what you get taught. But that's not what the idea of karma is. But you're right, karma is a hoax. You're correct. It's used to keep control of the people. It has been used for over thousands of years in India. It's the idea that if you were born poor, you will stay poor because that's your karma, and that's more or less what you just also explained.
Exactly. I mean, for crying out loud, in India, they revere cows and rats in India. I mean, how primitive can you get believing in a bleeping cow? I mean, cows are so revered that if a cow takes a crap on your car, you better not do any harm to that cow or you're screwed. I mean, rats, same thing with rats and monkeys and so forth. I mean, for crying out loud, you got to use common sense in these kind of things. And here's what I'm saying. And here's what I'm saying. You have the high priesthood in all these countries around the world that control their people and control them like sheep. And communist countries are the worst. I mean, they're more out front with it and so forth. That if you don't toe the line and do as we tell you, you go in a gulag and get put on drugs and so forth. America's a little bit more subtle, but it's the same darn thing. And that's my main point. I don't believe in this karma nonsense. It's a hoax, like you said. And you know what? And if you overthrow the elite, another elite will take its place. And so forth. And the more educated a person is on that fact, the better off we're going to be. America's changed its third world status right now. It's not because of bleeping karma. It's because you have an elite that controls both parties and pushing America over the abyss. And I'm sure in your country it's even worse. And so forth. Certain actions equal certain reactions. Problem, reaction, solution, Hegelian dialectic. Yes.
That's a problem reaction, I usually say, because the reaction is caused by the problem that has been created by the very people that offer you the solution.
Exactly.
So it starts with the solution. And so, karma is a hoax, and because I think it's important to explain that karma is a hoax because I think it's this idea of the Bible and that you get punished if you do bad deeds and you go to heaven if you do good deeds. That idea is also false. And that may be a hard pill to swallow for some. Bush is not going to get punished by God either, you see. If you go to micro1650am.com and you click on the banner Solvinor Radio, you can enter the chat room for questions. You can also reach me at solvinor1, that's numeral 1, at yahoo.com. And I'm still talking to Jeff. We were discussing the idea of karma. And Jeff, you mentioned the elites. And I wonder, who do you think are these elites?
Well, quite honestly, I think the elites are rich people, very very rich people, extremely rich people, names you don't even know of in the media. I mean, yes, you got the Rockefellers, you got the Rothschilds, and you have in America you have a lot of old line families like the Bushes, the Harrimans, and stuff like that. But I really believe the elite are people who you don't even know of. And number two, these elite at the very very top, they're Satanists, they're Luciferians. That's what I think the elite are, generational witchcraft. Now, yes.
If you don't believe in karma, why do you use term?
Because if they believe it, it becomes influential on other people's lives, and the Satanist ideology is spreading throughout the world, and at the end of the day, the nation state will be abolished. That's what they want to do. They want to abolish the nation state and have a one world ruler. That's where this car is heading towards. And if you look at Chinese communism, that is the model. That's one of the models for the New World Order. And look at the toilet any communist country is, because it stifles the individual from prospering. They punish prosperity, keep the money for themselves, and utilize the poor to go against the middle class. Think of it as a sandwich. You have the elite at the top, and you have the very poor on the bottom, and the middle class is in the middle, and it's like a jaw squeezing on the middle class. That's what's happening right now. It's not karma. It's planned. It's meticulous. They know what they're doing, and most of these politicians are in their pockets.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with the three division that you make there, because I think that the middle class is still belonging to us. They came up through merchandise in the ancient days also, but they are also controlled. Like you said, that I believe that the real filthy rich people, they don't get their names printed in the newspaper. Do you think?
No, of course not.
Right. So, and then the middle, that would be more like the media. They are the middle. Media means middle.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They are more like a wall between us, the normal people, so to speak, and stinking, filthy rich. You agree there?
What I meant by the middle is I meant the middle class. And I mean, it's like a jaw squeezing down and squeezing out the middle class.
That's true. That's happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it may have to do with the fact that the revolutions in last couple of hundreds of years, they've come from the middle class, and because they want to control everything, including the revolutions, which you see happening now in the Middle East, by the way.
Of course.
Is a reason also for them to destroy the middle class. I don't think they do it because they want their money, because, they already got enough of that. And if they don't have enough, they just print more. So what's going on here,
Control, power, slavery, hegemony. I can't pronounce it. I mean, that's what they really want. They want ultimate control. If you ever watch the movie Gamer or look at the Wikipedia of Gamer, you'll see exactly what the elite want. There are science fiction movies that are predictive programming, and yes. Gamer is one of those movies that the whole movie is about the concept of nanoparticles going into people and controlling the people. We have this one guy who's able to control people, and he has one set of nanoparticles, nanites, and the other people have another set, and basically you have two games in the future, and one of the games is a rich kid behind the scenes using a soldier to do his bidding in his video game.
Yeah. Did you see the movie The Island?
Yes, I did.
It's also full of predictive programming.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Where the people are kept on the level of children, and you see what the elite really want to do.
Yeah, and that's also what's happening today. The information we get from our parents, school, radio, television is from such a low level that the people themselves stay children indeed.
Exactly. I mean, before I go, I notice when I talk to people on the street, people are on a very infantile level, and I believe that that's done on purpose. It's not karma, my friend.
Oh, of course not. Well, I'm glad you called in, Jeff.
And I'm glad you took my call, and do have a good one.
Okay, take care, man. Okay. Yup, there you go. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Hold on, people. Yeah, it's gone. Okay, it's good. So, the idea of karma is indeed meant to control people. Now, I hope I explained that question good enough like this. The arc karma, when I was talking about before Jeff called, has to do with non-action. Non-action is pretty hard to explain. I do talk about what is karma and what is action, because you will find that these arguments are also used in environmental groups and New Age groups. So that's why it's important that you understand, so you know where they are coming from and you know how to attack their points of view. So, our karma is non-action, and non-action has very much to do with identification. In all of these New Age philosophies also, they will tell you that you are a living being. You are an entity. And a tiger or an ant or a tree is also an entity. And therefore, the human is dragged down to the level of grass. You understand? That's what this is about. It has to do with dehumanization. That's why it is important that you have a good understanding of what you are. Because identification, what you identify with, happens to be the basis for a lot of your actions. So, the question I asked last week is, are you your body? And the answer is, no, you're not. And in the previous discussion with Jeff, we were talking about the elites and Satanism. Personally, I don't believe that these elites really believe in all of this mythological stuff, and they have the real knowledge, which they always keep secret from the normal people. They possess that, and I think that's what they use also to keep control of us. So I wouldn't call them Satanists. I've been doing a lot of research into all of this control mechanism, and there are a couple of documents out there, like the Communist Manifesto and the Protocols of Zion, which may point you in the direction of who's in control here. Now I'm going to explain a little bit more about this karma idea and how it has to do with identification. So karma means non-action, and if you identify with your body, which is normal, by the way, we just said that you are not your body. This is a intellectual road or trip that you have to take to understand that you are not your body. It's not so hard to understand. I mean, it's something that you have control of. You have hands, you have a head, you have two eyes. You are not all of that. You have a body. It's yours. You are in possession of it. That means you can't be it. There's something in your body which makes it alive. And this is what the New Age will call an entity or a living being. And the sad part is that they may have a point there, because living beings can't be created in a laboratorium. Okay, they just can't do that yet. They can mix around the different keys of life. Those are a term you may have heard last week. That's just DNA. So they can mix around those keys and come up with all kinds of creepy things, but they can't yet create life in itself. So going back to this idea about a karma, action or non-action, and your body, is because it's your body that does the action, right? For instance, digging in the ground or whatever. And if you think you are your body, then you automatically think that you are the one that's digging in the earth. But it's your body that's digging in the earth, not you. So if you understand that, you can turn karma into akarma. And the reason why you want to do this, the explanation given, is then that if you do karma and you do a lot of work in the garden, you expect a result from it. And you want, for instance, your food to grow or whatever. And that connects you to the material world. It makes a link between you, it makes a link between you and the material world, and it ties you to it. That's how it's explained. However, if you realize that you are not your body, and you are doing that work in the garden, realizing that you are not the one that's acting here, but it is your body that is, then you will not be tied to the effects of what you are doing. That's the reason given. That has also the idea of being punished when bad deeds are done, or being rewarded when you're doing good things. And this has to do with identification. So you have to find out who you are. That's very important. They don't say for nothing, know yourself. That's ancient saying. Okay, I think that's about enough about that. If you have any questions, you can go to micro1650am.com. There you can click the that's Dutch, lol. You can click the banner, and you can enter the chat room and ask questions. Mathematicians, this is from Sex Symbols and the Stars by Ernest Busenbach. As ancient mathematicians and astronomers began to master its principles, geometry was assumed to be a divine science which would unfold the forms and proportions the great architect had employed in the creation of the universe, and certain geometrical forms were accredited a mystic importance wholly apart from their mathematical properties. Consequently, many ancient symbols were derived from geometrical forms, among which the square, all over the world, not only now, but also in ancient times, you find these red squares. Circle and triangle and their secondary forms, a cube, a sphere, and pyramid or cone, were particularly reverenced as containing the key to secrets of the construction of the universe. This is more or less what Nassim Haramein is talking about. I don't personally trust this Nassim, Haramijn. This is because of his name, so don't take my word for it. Nasim, that's not a good word. It means you could translate it, and then this is my free interpretation, but this is head of a Sanhedrin. Okay. These forms served as the basis for many of the most sacred symbols of the early religious and secret orders. See, there's also a tie between secret orders and religions. Because of the great importance of the number 5 in the mystic scheme in India, the forms were there expanded from 3 to 5 to include air and ether. Okay, this is what we discussed last week indeed, and now they indeed come to the 5 material elements that we discussed last week: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Stupas containing these 5 basic or mystic forms may be found in Buddhist monasteries, in public places in China, Tibet, and Japan, where they signify the 5 sources from which all things come and to which they return. Yeah, this is better explained in ancient Indian mythology. Here they say that these 5 sources, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, are the source of this universe. However, there's 3 more to be added. Those are mind, intelligence, and ego. Mind could be simply translated as thinking, wanting, and feeling. Continuing, in this system of Oriental imagery, the Earth was conceived as occupying the center of the universe, with the Sun, the Moon, and other planets spread around it in concentric circles like the segment of an onion. Welcome back, everybody. This is Micro 1650 AM. I'm your host, Walter, talking to you from the Netherlands. And I found where we were last week. We were at natives of Polynesia. These people paint the mystic eye of the prows on the prows of their boats for protection against bad luck. That's the eye of Ra, of Horus. The Egyptian triad of Osiris, Isis, and Horus was sometimes represented by a triangle within a circle. Hindu worshippers of Shakti, that's a wife of Shiva, the female principal, mark their vases with a right-angled triangle, bisected with a line, and worshippers of Isis used to mark the vessels necessary to her rites in the same manner. By the way, Shakti is a bit more or less like the story of Adam and Eve, because Shiva was a hermaphrodite. He was androgynous, and so he split himself into him and his wife, Shakti. So that's also what you get in this story of India, where Shiva he simply divides himself into male and female representatives. Continuing, in its original form, the Egyptian eye, or ujat, was worn as an amulet as shown on plate 42, figure 19. The eye was supposed to be a very potent charm against bad luck, and the wearer of the ajut felt assured of good health, protection, and general well-being. Twin ajuts represented the eyes of the sun and moon. That is, the 2 eyes of Her. The Her that's spelled with a capital A. This is an ancient form of the goddess Hathor. The word Hathor also comes back in different forms. It was painted on coffins and mortuary articles. In the Babylonian creation myth, the hero Marduk carried between his lips an amulet in the form of an eye when he set forth to battle with Tiamat. Yeah, ancient mythological stories about Tiamat and Marduk, who can possibly be seen as planets. The badges distinguishing the three orders of Egyptian priesthood were the Greek theta. That's theta, that's a circle with a crossbar in it, signifying the sun. Okay, I also know that a circle with a dot in it is also signifying the sun. It's a very ancient symbol. Today we use that symbol also as a hydrogen symbol. And the sun, there's a lot of hydrogen there, which is used to create the next element, and thereby comes a lot of energy free. The badges distinguishing the three orders of Egyptian priesthood were the Greek theta, signifying the sun, the T signifying eternal life, and the equilateral triangle signifying pleasure. Well, that's strange. Pleasure, is that so important? You would think that's not so important, but there is also in ancient Indian mythologies, they talk of Ananda, okay? It's Ananda. It's the third element, so to speak, of Sat Chit Ananda. And these are what they call absolute properties of your real body, not your material body that you possess at this moment, but your real body. You got three bodies, okay? You got your material body, which you bang on the table with, and then you got your mental body, which with you dream, for instance, but which is also used for remote viewing, okay? Then there's your third body, which is Sat Chit Ananda. And Ananda has to do with pleasure. In fact, Ananda means always growing pleasure. And Sat means eternal, and Chit means full of knowledge. Okay, continuing. The important feature of the celebrated ring with which King Solomon was said to perform feats of magic was a 5-pointed star or pentacle, formed by two overlapping triangles and sometimes called the Seal of Solomon. Sol, Om, On is that. Sol is sun, Om is Om, what we discussed, A-U-M, and On is an ancient Egyptian word for God. On or An, okay? When placed right side up, the star was a powerful amulet of white magic, but when inverted, it was a symbol of witchcraft, black magic, sorcery, and an omen of bad luck. Again, I think that these symbols derive their power from what the people give it, not the symbol itself. Continuing, to Pythagoreans and others, the pentagram was a symbol of the universe or perfection. It had been found on early Syrian pottery, on earthenware from Ur in Chaldea, and is believed to be an older design than the hexagon or Star of David. In India, it is a symbol of Shiva, as well as of the 10 avatars of Vishnu. 10 avatars of Vishnu, yeah, that's a whole story. Rama and Krishna, which I mentioned also in the previous broadcasts, are two of them. But there's in the ancient mythology of India, which goes back millions of years, there's more of those avatars, as they call them. An avatar is a special representative of the realm of the absolute. You could explain it like that. They are self-realized living beings. They do not identify themselves with either their mind or intelligence or their physical body. They are what Westerners would call enlightened beings. Continuing, Egyptians employed a 5-pointed star as a hieroglyphic for their gods. This pentacle, is so common today that it seems impossible it could ever have been thought to possess magical properties. But in an age when people looked for symbolic meanings in everything, it had many significant associations. In astrology, the 5-pointed star represented the 5 planets: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Not only the number 5 we discussed in the previous hour also, about earth, water, fire, air, and ether. There's probably also not only metals connected to that, but also planets indeed. Mathematically, the 5 points form 10 angles of 108 degrees each, and there are 5 lines equal to the extreme ratio. Okay, 108 degrees, that's important, because 108 is one of the most important sacred symbols in ancient Indian mythology. So I guess that had to do with this pentacle. There were 108 days in 4 Babylonian 27-day months. Okay, so in the old days they were not reckoning a year as by the sun, but they were using months, as we still have in our language. We still use the word month, but it has not really much more to do with the moon, because we added a few days. Okay, in the older days they were using the moon to decide what time it is, not the sun. So, continuing, 10 times 108 days equal 1080, or 3 years in the astrological calendar. In India, 108 is the number of Brahma, the god of light, and is of the great magical significance. Continuing here, from the previous hour, Brahmans considered the potential length of human life to consist of 12 divisions of 9 years each. Well, that's kind of strange, because I've been told by Brahmans, at least they call themselves Brahmans, that a life of a human, the potential length of a human life consists of the amounts of breaths that he is given at birth. They think that, this human being has 1 million breath and the other has 2 million breath and then he dies. And the kind of ridiculous idea they have. Continuing, the ideal human figure is divided by canon into 108 parts, and the making of images and statues is highly formalized art. The art is part of the quadrivium, which is something you get into if you've understood the trivium, which is grammar, logic, and rhetoric. If you understand the grammar and logic, then you also have to have a means to be able to make it understandable to other people. That's rhetoric. how you use the words, how you use the language. And after that comes the quadrivium, of which art is a part. Quadra is 4, so there's 4 there, of which art is 1. And it has to do, again, with control of the people. The arts and music, for instance, is used to manipulate the activities of human beings. Okay, considering here. The length of 2 human lives, 216 years, is the number of metamorphosis or reincarnation. Okay. This is also an idea which cannot be proven, reincarnation. This is, continuing, this is the mystic 6 times 6 times 6. Is that so? So 6 times 36? 18? Yeah, that's 216. Huh. Okay. The rosary or Rudraksha beads worn by Brahmans number 108. That's correct. And by putting on the Rudraksha beads, person become the Rudras. Incarnate in the flesh and body. By these, all sins arising from seeing, hearing, remembering, smelling, committing prohibited things, that would be vikarma, talking incoherently, doing prohibited things are entirely removed with the Rudraksha beads on the body. The 108 signifies the number of Vedas and Brahma, the source of wisdom. They're talking here about the beads. You probably know them as rosary beads. And they call it different in India. They call it japa. J-A-P-A. And it indeed has 108 beads on it. And they have it in a little sack. And they put it in their hand. And they got one bead between 2 fingers. And they twist that bead while chanting a mantra. And when they finish the mantra, they can go on to the next bead. And again mention the mantra while spinning this bead. And then when they done that 108 times, because there's 108 beads on the string, then they turn around and go back the other way, another 108 times. And that they do 8 times a day at the minimum. So, let's see where we can continue here. They said that you said that the 108 signifies the number of Vedas, probably meaning I wouldn't know, to be honest with you, but there's like categories of the Vedas. You got the Rig Veda, for instance, and the Ajur Veda, but those are like those are 4. Those are 4 main categories of the Vedas. And I guess, for instance, something like the Mahabharata would be something within one of the 4 categories. And then you got a 5th. And I guess you can come up to 108 if you just take all the capital things out of the 4 basic things. So the Mahabharata, which I will be discussing later also on this event, Solvino Radio, is about a war, and it has a lot to do with mythology and things like that. And we will find that a lot of the things from Mahabharata also reappear in the Bible. So that's good to hear. For people that are religious, need to rethink their belief system. Okay, so but there's this number of Vedas, and Brahma would also be considered as 108. Brahma would be the source of wisdom. As I said last week, Brahma was the first living being, according to ancient mythology, in this universe. And like Adam, he actually had no clue in the beginning. He was fearful also. But through the inside of his heart, the mythology goes, he was taught how to create the rest of the universe, how to fill the universe, how to fill the void, so to speak, how to create something from nothing, or better said, how to create something from no thing. And once he understood those creation principles, he could be considered the source of wisdom. The source of wisdom, it says here, had a number, the number 8, so I'm going to read that. It says here 8, Sacred Books of the Hindus, volume 26, book 11, chapter 3, page 1063. The number 108 has a mystical meaning to Buddhists as well as Brahmins. At Gautama's birth, the number of Brahmas summoned to foretell his destiny was 108. There are 108 shrines of special sanctity in India. There are 108 Upanishads. Upanishads are philosophical writings of the Vedas. 108 rupees is a fair sum for a generous temple or other donation. In Tibet and China, 108 is sacred or mystic number in connection with architecture, ritual, and literature. Also, this is from my memory, 108 in India is the number of wives that Krishna came down with 5,000 years ago. I'm your host, Walter, and I'm broadcasting to you from sunny Netherlands, blue, pale sky, not a cloud in the sky, not a chemtrail in the sky, and that kind of makes me happy. That's good, good for your body. Catch some sun if you can, people. Create some vitamin D. So, I'm going to continue here with that number 108. The number of beads in both Tibetan and Burmese rosaries is usually 108. This number appears on documents before the name of the Maharajas or high priests of the Bhatti caste. Ocean of Story, Volume 1, page 242, and blah de blah. Here we continue. We are at the end of chapter 9. Here's chapter 10. It's the same idea. This is still continuing about sex symbolism. More than any other people, Orientals have always liked to speak in metaphors and parables, describing one thing when referring to another. In the development of their customs, their custom of viewing everything as male or female in character, bowls, cups, basins, baskets, windows, arches, doors, bells, bags, sacks, boxes. Sacks as in S-A-C-K-S. Boxes, arks, boats, and hollow things of all kinds became emblematic of the womb. Even the palm of the hand being considered female because of its hollowness. Circles, rings, ovals, horseshoes, and other objects of like character symbolized the pudendum. Pole, now come the male ideas. Poles, posts, pails, trees, pillars, columns, obelisks, spires. I would also say spears. It comes towers, swords, spears, clubs. Mountain peaks and other projections were considered masculine, and in India various kinds of stone, metals, and trees were classified as male or female according to their characteristics. Some objects, such as a pestle and mortar, lock and key, or egg and dart design, combine both male and female symbols. Objects are also classified according to their function. A hoe or a plow, for instance, is male because it opens the earth to receive the seed for planting and is called an opener. By similar reasoning, a furrow or cleft is designated female, and the field or meadow itself is of the same sex. The Latin word, vomer, signifies both plowshare and phallus. The signatures of some Indian princes contain ideographs of a plow to indicate that they are earthly representatives of the Creator. In India and the plow, everybody in India will tell you that Rama is responsible for introducing the plow, and he also used it as a weapon. At marriage ceremonies, a plow is set up under a canopy as a harbinger of fertility. In ancient drawings and bas-reliefs, male figures were often accompanied by female symbols, and female figures, either given male symbols as hair ornaments or articles of dress or such objects, were placed near the figures as if the scene were not complete unless both sexes were represented. Scroll. It says at the end of the represented there's a number. One, we check it, one. One in the Bhagavad Purana, second skanda, Mahadeva is described by Brahma as the Parabrahman, the Lord of Shiva and Shakti, who are the seed and womb, respectively, of the universe. The import of this is that the male and female are forever inseparable and are found together in cosmic evolution. Yeah, like I said in the previous hour about Shiva being male and female at the same time, androgynous. Okay, continuing. It was probably for a similar reason that priests sometimes wore female garments and priestesses were garbed in male attire. This custom has continued in the Catholic and the Episcopal churches to the present time. The drawings on plate 44 illustrate this use of the male and female symbols and were originally... hold on. There's the call screen. I'm going to keep that you can call in 716-213-6816 if you want to comment on anything or have any questions about any topic, doesn't matter. The drawings on plate 44 illustrate this use of the male and female symbols and were originally reproduced by Layard. Layard 2, who's that? Figure 1 is from a Babylonian seal. The central figure represents an androgynous deity with an erect male serpent on the left and a female serpent on the right. Opposite the male, there is a lozenge-shaped female symbols, and at his feet is an amphora which signifies Uranus. I don't know what that is. Uranos, or the sun, fructifying terra, the earth. The sun is seen as a male because the sun makes it possible for the seeds to grow in the earth. Its rays are also seen as poles or spires or spears or what you want. The so signifying Uranus or the sun, fructifying Terra the earth by pouring from himself into her. Yes, the sun, the energy of the sun is being put on the earth, so to speak. Over the female serpent there is a crescent moon, and opposite the serpent there is a sixth-rate star representing the sun. At her feet is a cup which apparently represents the female element in creation. Figure 2 is from a gem cylinder in the British Museum. It represents male and female figures dancing before the mystic palm tree. Opposite a particular spot, on one figure there is a diamond or oval, and on the other a fleur-de-lis, the symbol of the male triad. Continuing here. Above are the sun and the moon. Below are a male palm tree and the barred setias. I don't know what that word is. And the barred setias identical in meaning with the sistrum as a symbol of the virgin female. You can also find, by the way, you can also find these crossed bars painted on the foreheads of acharyas and people that worship Shiva. And acharya is a Indian word for teacher. Below, that's what I read. Next comes the male emblem, the cone, and the female symbol, the lozenge. Plate 67, figures 1 and 2 show designs taken from ancient Assyrian tablets, in which the female symbol is placed near the male and the principal worshippers are shown holding bags, typical symbols of the womb. To Hindus, Bhagavata or Parvati, the mother of mothers, is the lady of the sack, who Florentines called Madonna del Sacco, but who is now called Dea Immacolata, or simply Saint Bride or Brigitta. So Bridget. The interdependence of the male and female in the scheme of creation is rooted deeply in Chinese philosophy. As described by Major General James G. Forlong, who spent many years studying the subject, male and female symbols form the basis for the Chinese ideograph signifying man. Figure A represents Ti, called the pillar god, supreme monad, the one, but lacks the power to create because the female symbol is missing. B is an inverted V, representing Zhang, young, or man, with Phallus or knotted stick accompanied by Shang, the heavenly dot, as the moon poised over the waters and representing the female principle. The combined ideographs signify power to create life. C represents a god-man or double Phallus one. It is the Li or Ti by virtue of which the Shang generates life. But as the female half is missing, the god is powerless to create. D is the dual form of Shang-Ti, Xing Lei or Xin Lei, the creative god, accompanied by the female ark or womb. They have a creative god in China, Mr. Ernest? Are you sure about that? I don't believe they have any idea of God in China, but I may be wrong there. They are, there's basically you got the Taoism and, or Taoism, and there's another stream. There's two main philosophical streams in China. And most of the people belong to one of them, like you got the Democrats and the Republicans. And both of them have no God concept. So, I don't know where he's getting this from. E is an Akkadian cuneiform character representing the letter A, called Zikaru, the male thing, or the sword, and by the Jews called Zakar, that which pierces or penetrates. In Assyrian, it represented Ash or Asher, the phallus. When a boy, Ashler is also Asher, Ashler, Ash, As, it's the same. As is also a Dutch word, by the way. It's also could be seen as a pole. Continuing, when a boy is initiated by the Naojote ceremony, I'm going to start this over. When a boy is initiated by the Naojote ceremony of the Parsis in India and invested with the Sudra and Kusti, or sacred shirt and thread, the priest make a long vertical mark of red lead on the forehead of the initiate. If the child is a girl, a round mark is made. The vertical mark signifies the fertilizing or conceiving rays of the sun, or, the male phallus. And the round mark represents Chandra, the moon, or, which is fertilized by or receives the conception from Surya. Surya is the sun god, the sun. Brahman devotees of Parvati paint 3 vertical strokes on the forehead. Oh, so there's more that do that. The outer strokes are white or yellow, and the center one is always red. Okay, I saw them on acharyas or even Shiva himself. Yeah, Shiva himself also has 3 white horizontal bars on his forehead. And acharyas also have 3 white horizontal bars. The modern Naman or emblem, which Hindu followers of Vishnu paint or draw upon their foreheads as a symbol of creative power, is a white U-shape mark, in the center of which is a vertical stroke in red. Another symbol, or of similar character and possibly of the same origin and significance, consists of a V. V and U were formerly the same, roughly forming an arrowhead or pointing up or down. This was an ancient method of representing the letters I and V, which formed a sacred monogram of Yahweh. The letters IU were painted with Pitar, that's father, to form the name of the Roman Jupiter. White arrowheads, Jupiter of course is Jupiter, right? White arrowheads are still stamped on articles owned by kings and as symbols of their sovereignty. Is that so? There's arrowheads on the old Dutch coins. There's a shield there, which is covering the body of a lion. And the lion has arrows also in his hand. And then there's also a caduceus on this coin. Caduceus is also a merchant symbol. I'm not sure what these arrows stand for. It says here the symbols of their self-sovereignty, but I know them as a symbol of war. These arrows, they are symbol of conquering. So, continuing, the crescent moon was once a common and widely diffused feminine symbol, and to the present day, amulets in the form of a crescent moon are regarded as especially appropriate for virgins and pregnant women. They were popular among many people of Western Asia and signified to them the strength and protection of the waxing moon. Moon amulets were fastened on the necks of camels to protect them from the evil eye. A Greek epithet for the moon was Cynthia, from Cynthus, K and C being the same, likewise U and Y. and as a goddess of fecundity, fecundity, whatever that word is. Welcome back, everybody. This is Micro 1650 AM. I'm your host, Walter. You can still call in. This is the last segment. You want to call in, the number is 716-213-6816. You can reach us at micro1650am.com. There you can also see the other radio shows that are being hosted by Orion Talk Radio. I suggest you stay tuned. And the next hour after me, I believe you will hear some information about Agenda 21. That's usually her topic. And after that, there's also Radio X, and then there's Against the Wall, and after that, there's Federal Jack, I believe. So stay tuned. You will hear things on this radio station that you need to arm yourself, as Doug Owen puts it. And this information is in some sense it's dangerous for your life in the sense that it will eventually change your life. Information or knowledge, when you realize it, when you research it for yourself, will change your behavior. You will start acting differently if you have extra information, or real information is maybe the better word. So I would invite you to stay tuned. I'm going to keep an eye on the call-in number, 716-213-6816. And I'll continue here with the text. I skipped some, and I'm going to continue here. It's still about sex symbolism. It's about Mohammedans also recognize the Old Testament as a part of their holy records. And the most holy object in their Kaaba, or at Mecca, is a stone phallic image. Kaaba. Compare Kaaba with the Hebrew word Koba, meaning vulva. First, Hebrew dictionary translates Koba as anything hollow or arched, like the Kaaba, which signifies the ark or vulva, kob, alcova or alcove. The Greek for Koba means female parts, so cave would also be in that category. From Rome to Japan, early nations possessed similar arks, chests, coffers, or argas for holy objects, which were usually symbols of male and female pudenda. Yeah. The Ark of the Egyptians contained what they believed to be the symbols of the true creator, the phallus, the egg, and the serpent. The first represented Osiris as the sun, the male generative principle and active creator. The second, the preserver or passive female principle. And the third, the destroyer or reproducer. It's the same idea of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, making it all possible, happening in the now. The creation happened in the past. And the third one, the destroyer, the destruction, which is in the future. Continuing, if the Jews adopted the idea of an ark from the Egyptians, as the evidence seems to indicate, it was doubtless for a similar purpose and contained similar objects. The ark itself was a female symbol, therefore the eduth or testimony must have been a male image, probably of unhewn stone, representing Yahweh the increaser, the generator of life. Probably the ark also contained a brazen serpent, the ubiquitous Egyptian symbol of life and creative energy. Why does the serpent have this symbol of life and creative energy? This has to do with a myth about I don't remember his name exactly, but he was a warrior. Short story. He was a warrior, and he wanted also eternal life, but he had to go over some seas and over some rivers and through some darkness and all kinds of strange things. And eventually he meets one of his ancestors, and he gives him a plant which supposedly would give him eternal life. But because the warrior was kind of tired by this long journey, he fell asleep. And a snake came and stole the plant from him. And when the snake took the plant and took it out of a boat and took it with him, the warrior noticed and saw that the snake was losing its skin. And it left behind its skin, and a new snake appeared. That's why they say it's a symbol of life and creative energy, because it can lose its skin. Okay, continuing. According to another Jewish tradition, there was no evil until Eve's curiosity led her to partake of the tree of life, or knowledge, and the consequent opening of her womb brought forth all that is evil in the world. In Greek mythology, curiosity also led to the opening of Pandora's box. Yeah, that's a good example. Chest or ark, with a similar result, and the hidden symbolism in both cases is basically the same. The forms pictured on plate 48 are based on variations of the oval and are intended to illustrate some of the many ways in which the shape has been employed to symbolize the ark, ankh, or matrix, or the universal mother principle. In Egypt, variations of the oval as an unfringed phallic eye were painted on temple walls, doors, peristyles, what's that, etc., as a symbol of the ever-virgin Isis. Ever-virgin Isis, that's also an important figure. You need to research if you are a believer, Catholic or a Christian or a Mormon or whatever. You need to check out these stories. In various arrangements, it is still painted on the foreheads of millions of people in India as a caste mark. Okay, there's 4 castes in India. I explained them last week. The female generative organ is called in India by the Sanskrit word yoni, pronounced yun or in. Yoni. They taught me it is pronounced yoni, just like you see it there. Y-O-N-E. But there's a lot of difference in pronunciation of words in India. It's just like here in the Netherlands, a very small country. But I can't understand the people in the north. Neither can I understand the people in the south. They talk such a different kind of Dutch that I really can't understand them. So you can, if you're looking for meanings of words, you can meddle around a little bit with the pronunciation according to etymological rules that have been set out. The letters I, J, and Y were once interchangeable, as were also the letters U and O. Therefore, yoni and the Hebrew word yune, meaning dove, a female symbol, Jonah and Johannes, the Greek titles Io, Iona, and Ionia, and the Latin names Juno, Jove, Jupiter, were probably derived from the same primitive root. Figure 4 on plate 49 is an 11th or 12th century phallic pillar, or linga, or lingam is another word for that, from a temple at Ambar, Magalam, India, on which is carved a figure representing the god Shiva, standing in a yoni with pointed ends. Yes, a lingam or linga in Shiva, which is just a pole sticking out of the ground like we have here in Amsterdam. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of poles sticking out of the ground, all with 3 X's on them. They are Phallus symbols, and they are, in India, identified as Shiva. Okay, continuing. In figure 5, the same god is similarly represented on a linga from Dasavatara cave at Elora. In ancient Mexico, this form was associated with the rites of the savior Quetzalcoatl. Okay, let's see. What do we got? 57. The show is almost over, people. So we'll have to continue this at another time.